At this point, I just feel like I'm just covering this whole Rory anti-black narrative type of shit. Because apparently now people are saying that Joe Budden responds to folks blaming him for Rory amid old tweets drama. If you don't know, some old tweets surfaced about Rory making some, I guess you could say, unfavorable tweets to the black community and potentially stereotyping the black woman or etc. People didn't like it. He tried to apologize or have a Twitter Spaces. He was acting with sarcasm. That didn't work out. The K-bots or people that were just very like upset and argumentative were not even letting him speak edgewise. He went on his own platform, said his piece, a more concise and apologetic response, if you will. People have had their thoughts. Vlad has come out and said he's a racist, which, again, craziness. But now people are going against Joe Budden. If you don't know, before Rory and Ma had their podcast, they were both members of the Joe Budden podcast. Again, part of my favorite time. That's when I first discovered the Joe Budden podcast, and I went to go watch back, when it was called I'll Name This Podcast Later, on etc. etc. And now we have this new iteration with, Ice, Ish, Mono, Mark, Flip. Parks was around for all of that. And yeah, the whole Melissa Ford, I'm gonna get to that eventually. I'm gonna talk about the Melissa Ford drama. I'm gonna get to it. But anyways, with that being said, people are blaming him for like Rory, because the first time we had knowledge of Rory, and I believe Rory was on the early episodes podcast of I'll Name This Podcast Later. When we first found out about Rory, is because of the Joe Budden podcast. So now people are sitting here like, yo, what the fuck, this and that, you encourage this behavior, blah blah blah, and they're going against Joe Budden, which honestly, Joe Budden is his own independent person. He doesn't control niggas outside of work. Maybe at work he has an expectation for niggas, but outside of work, it is what it is. Now, again, maybe because you could say they were friends at one point. And still, I think at this point, they kind of got over their shit, because he brings up Rory a lot. So I think him and Rory are cool. They got over whatever they got over. But maybe him and Maul are not, what's it called? The bestest of friends or whatever have you, which I don't even understand that shit, because they say like Rory and his co-host. So I don't know what beef broke out with Maul, but that might just be a video for another day. But anyways, we'll see. Let's get into it real quick. So the Joe Budden podcast reacts to Rory's, if y'all talk about the reaction, they didn't really do shit. I seen it. They was just describing it. Alleged racist tweets criticizing his dismissive response in the immediate aftermath. It's been a long time since Joe Budden and Rory Farrell went their separate ways, but they still comment on each other's successes and misfortunes every once in a while. Most recently, the alleged racism scandal caused backlash for Rory became a topic of discussion on Joe Budden's self-titled podcast. And the clip caught by whooping feet. I love that name on Twitter. You can hear co-hosts Mark Lamont Hill and Mona mostly lead the conversation alongside the Slaughterhouse MC Mark called. The initial response Farrell gave on Twitter Spaces dismissal, with Joe adding words like smug, condescending, arrogant, and snarky. For the record, Rory agrees. He addressed the Spaces response on his podcast with Maul, apologizing for being an effing D in his responses and for dismissing folks who don't know him that took these allegations or alleged racist tweets and responses out of context. Nevertheless, Joe Budden criticized his former co-host's position that people who know him in real life know he's not a racist, even though people that know you, they still might be hurt by it. Mona agreed. People get hurt by stuff like this, especially when they support you. She also brought up his whiteness as a factor, something that Budden agreed with later on. Mark Lamont Hill remarked how the story got way bigger than they thought. They didn't bring this up, but DJ Academics caused the stir by fueling beef with Farrell. He accused him of pulling up to his house years ago. Bro, that's not why. That happened so long ago. If you don't remember when this was when Rory and Maul were still on the Joe Budden podcast. They said some shit about Academics. Academics didn't like it. He goes on Twitch, good. Academics just talking his shit real quick, what I'm saying? He was sending it off. He was shooting at niggas. Bow, bow, bow. He was doing all that type of time. And he basically insinuated, I think, Rory was with a girl called Sam or whatever. And basically he's like, yo, Rory dropped off a car like, I don't want peace, love from a stooge or whatever. And apparently he insinuated that he got his girls like Guyanese like Budden to drop off the card and pull up, and Rory was on Twitter posting area codes and I'm just like, man, again, I don't know exactly what happened because I can't speak. Rory says, I think Danny from the stop asked Rory about this. Rory said, "Yo, that didn't happen. I ain't do that." Now, first of all, if you did do that, why would you say that on social media? But again, Rory is refuting that happened. Academics say no, it was Rory. So I don't know. We don't know exactly 100% what has happened, but from then he hasn't fucked with Rory and Ma from all that point. But hey, we'll see. Then Budden addressed comments from fans blaming him for all of this. After all, he did introduce Rory Farrell into the hip-hop world for many people in 2011. These tweets are so bad. They started kicking my back in, Joe expressed. This MF for Joe Budden brought him into the culture. I didn't know this N-word in 2011. I had no idea who he was in 2011. Overall, the Joe Budden podcast agreed that Farrell is not a racist by any means. However, Joe emphasized law to how white people have to listen to black people in black spaces. If you hurt someone with your words when the words are of a certain context, I don't think it's your right to be smug. We will see if Joe Budden and Rory address each other. At least the most reactionary parts of this discourse are dying down. Also, with this being said, I feel like Joe Budden kind of handled this with kid gloves. If you watch the podcast, especially, he kind of tried to not really talk about it. He let Mona and Mark lead the conversation a bit more. Because I do believe he still has love for Rory. There's a certain level of respect or maybe even friendship there. He even said, like, Amani Rory be having dinner every Sunday. So, again, we will see where this goes. But, again, like I've been saying the whole time, do I believe Rory is a racist? No, I'm not going to say that. I do believe, yeah, he didn't handle it the best, and of course we're seeing it. As for niggas kicking Joe Budden's back in, yeah, I kind of see that coming. Yeah, I mean, I can see that happen. It is what it is. But hopefully, again, I feel like eventually this will die down. But again, like Joe Budden said, he shouldn't have went there with the sarcasm and the smugness. But he did apologize on his platform. I feel like more people have to go check that out. People aren't flooding to his platform. Hey, the Clippers that do that shit will post the proper apology he did. Put it on social media so motherfuckers can actually see. But anyways, besides all that, what y'all think about this? Comments down below, links in the description. Besides that, it's your friendly neighborhood K.A. signing off for today. You're me. Like, subscribe, do all that. I'm gone. Slimes on peace, y'all, gang.